When first light came, we hit the road and headed to Salem, Massachusetts for the annual SalemCon event to talk to a demonologist and see if he could shed any light on this whole werewolf investigation.
I'm a deacon with the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm also a demonologist, or that's my specific study, a demonologist, but I'm also a paranormal investigator as well.
A demonologist? What does a demonologist really do?
Well, the demonologist is basically the mediator, so if you look at a paranormal investigator or somebody that goes in the house, they collect the data, they investigate to see if there's any plausible activity. And then if they feel like it's something that they can't handle, if it's negative, not necessarily demonic, but if it's demonic, usually they would call somebody like myself, and like there's John Zaffis, is the Ralph Sarchis, the Ed Warren, which is the most famous of them all, basically, Adam Bly's. But you call somebody like myself to come in and be that mediator, check it out, see maybe if the qualifications of it to be demonic are very negative. And I would collect my data, I'd sit down, talk with the homeowners, and kind of come up with some situation, see if maybe it is evil. And if it's not, I'm also a minister, of course I'm a deacon. Oh, wow. So I can always do a cleansing there if they feel that's something that they want.
So if it is demonic, you're able to take your skills and make something.
Well, no, if it is truly demonic, I can get permission from the church and do like a blessing, but more so if it was a demonic infestation. Basically, what would happen is, because I'm that mediator, I'd get.
Do you know how scary that sounds? Demonic infestation,
yeah. Well, it's the best word you can call for it, because if you look at what demons are, if you look at the literature, and if you look at the hauntings, it is an infestation because they are predators. They are very predator-based. They go after their prey. So if you think of like a infestation, like a rat infestation, they're very territorial. Rats can be very big predators.
Right.
And so it infests in that home, it takes over, starts kind of affecting everybody's livelihood. But in that same situation, if it is that, I'll call the church, because usually when it comes to demonic infestation, you would do a minor exorcism of the home. Right. And I don't have the ability to do exorcisms. I'm not properly trained, even though I am Catholic, right, and I am a clergy member. That is why as the demonologist, I'm that mediator. So if it was more than a house cleansing, then I would bring it. I'd have the paranormal team's data, I'd have my data, and say, yeah, they went to a primary care physician, they went to a psychological evaluation, especially if they're claiming they're possessed. It is a mandatory thing. They have to get a psych eval.
Wow.
So that's my process, and then I'd hand it to an exorcist or somebody more capable to handle it. But if I have to do something like a cleansing, I get permission, and they'll let me to do it and stuff like that.
Yep. All right. So basically, the reason I came in here and wanted to talk to you today is we're trying to learn more about the Bridgewater Triangle and what it really is. You know what I mean? And so I guess for me, I'd like to know what you know about the Bridgewater Triangle, and then also, have you heard of any kind of weird things that's happened here in the Bridgewater Triangle that maybe you were involved in?
Well, I think the one thing is, we talk about the Bridgewater Triangle, but we got to remember in this field that there's actually, throughout this country, there's a lot of places that have a triangulation of where activity happens more. My girlfriend's from Iowa. They have a triangle out there. You hear about the Bermuda Triangle, right? Where in that area of, sea, these things happen. Bridgewater Triangle, I've actually have a lot of experiences with it, Hockomock Swamp, being just interested in understanding. Of course, you have the high power lines, which I have a lot to do with things. But no, the Bridgewater Triangle actually, surprisingly enough, even though I do believe it's like a folklore thing as well, I actually have dealt with a lot of cases either within that triangulation or right outside of it. And of course, you can look at a map and you can pinpoint where you've been. Now, especially now with Google Maps.
Right.
So it's interesting. Do I believe it's just a triangle? I really can't say. Like I said, I've done cases throughout that whole area, but I really do believe that maybe is highly more active because more people put the perception on that they live in the triangle. So
maybe when people are in that triangle, they're more open to experiences?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. And of course, too, if you look at Hockomock Swamp, right, and you look at the houses over there, you have these power lines. We talk about EMF, people getting sick and being delusional and stuff. Those power lines, have ever been under those power lines? Bzzz, it's like, because how can't that affect people either? You know, I think I think there's a lot of things within that triangle that has a lot to do with maybe adding to the paranormal phenomenon that's happening there.
So you think there might be some physical things that are causing, I don't know, I want to call it spiritual or paranormal?
I definitely believe so. Yeah, I definitely. You know, we tend to get away from, you know, we always talk about spirits and residual and you know, intelligent hauntings, but remember, I think we tend to forget about poltergeist and PK activity, which is very great theories about that stuff. So I think if you put perception into it, and then you have a lot of these natural occurrences like the power lines affecting you, you might put enough perception into it where you might be dealing with something. It's possible, you know? It's all theory and opinion, but I've seen some crazy things with people within that area, especially those power lines. You know, I've been over in that area so many times and I've gotten sick. I felt like I was hearing things under those power lines. You can't say it was paranormal because you got to cancel out the natural occurrences. Those power lines, that gives off high EMF.
They go right through the swamp.
It's crazy, yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely a crazy spot. We actually are going to go look for a werewolf not too far from this triangle. So I'm excited about that, man. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think there's a possibility werewolves could be real?
Hey, I think that's, if you look at folklore and myth, right? That comes from a truth. It comes from a truth at one point in time, even though it's been passed down and interpreted differently. I know, of course, we were talking earlier about Ed Warren, and one of their cases was of a werewolf, and the person, you know, would have disfigurements and stuff like that. Do I necessarily believe they exist? I guess it would be cool, but I don't think so. I think maybe we look at, like we talk about, like, I know it's getting a little bit off of it, but, you know, vampires, right? You know, I believe vampires exist, but not in the aspect that you see in the movies, like Dracula turning into bats. So maybe they're in the same interpretation. Maybe there's people that would consider themselves werewolves or something like that, but I've never come across it. I'm a person that has to see it to believe it, or have to kind of dealt with it a little bit. I've never dealt with a werewolf, so I can't really tell you if it exists or not. If it did, man, I'm running.
Absolutely.
I'm running. I ain't messing with no werewolves.
No.